Saddam Hussein served as the fifth president of Iraq from 1979 until 2003. He had already been the de facto ruler in Iraq for a number of years, and he suppressed a number of movements throughout his time in control. His government was repressive, and his rule was categorised by a number of human rights abuses, and an estimated 250,000 executions and killings. He also ordered the bloody invasions of Iran and Kuwait, but in 2003 the United States and their allies invaded Iraq to depose Saddam. The accusations that Iraq possessed weapons of mass destruction, which justified the invasion and war, remains controversial to this day, but Saddam was captured on the 13th of December 2003, after he had disappeared from public view. He had been designated high-value target number 1 and was dragged out of a tunnel system, but he was then placed on trial and was sentenced to death. But what exactly happened at the execution of Saddam Hussein? Join us today as we find out, and remember to support our channel. Please make sure to subscribe. Between July and December 2003, Task Force 121 conducted 12 raids to find Saddam Hussein, which were unsuccessful, and 600 other operations were carried out against other targets. These were then interrogated, and on the 1st of December 2003, a former driver of Saddam's mentioned Mohammed Ibrahim Omar al-Muslit as Saddam's right-hand man. He was known as a Fat Man, and over the next 2 weeks, 40 members of his family were interrogated to find out where he was. But then on the 12th of December, a raid on a house in Baghdad captured Omar. He then revealed the location where Saddam could be found, and further intelligence was gathered that pinpointed Saddam Hussein's location to a remote farm location south of Tikrit. The operation to snatch Saddam, Operation Red Dawn, was launched, and 2 site names, Wolverine 1 and Wolverine 2, were to be investigated. There were around 600 soldiers involved in the mission, including even cavalry and artillery. The forces at first cleared the 2 objectives, but Saddam could not be found. But as the soldiers were finishing up their investigation, one of them kicked a piece of flooring to the side. In doing this, he exposed a spider hole and a tiny hole in the ground, and he was ready to throw a grenade inside of it, in case it led to a tunnel system containing hostile forces. But as he was about to do this, Saddam Hussein appeared, and then the soldier struck him with the butt of his M4 carbine and disarmed Saddam of his Glock pistol. He offered no resistance and surrendered, and was then taken to the mission support site before he was transferred to Baghdad and was held in custody at the airport. Along with his pistol, he had an AK-47 with him and roughly $750,000. After this, Saddam was then placed on trial. His first hearing took place on the 1st of July 2004, and in this he stated, "This is all theatre, the real criminal is Bush." He defended Iraq's 1990 invasion of Kuwait, referring to the people as dogs, who were trying to reduce the women of Iraq into nothing. His language was crude and he did not hold back, but Saddam was then charged with a number of different charges the following year. He was accused of killing 148 Shiites from Dujal, following a failed assassination attempt. He questioned the legitimacy of the court and said, "Neither do I recognise the body that has designated and authorised you, nor the aggression, because all that has been built on false basis is false." Saddam claimed he was the president of Iraq, and there were many incidents throughout his trial where he showed defiance against the authority of the courtroom. He told them to go to hell at one point, and then even refused to enter the courtroom and complained about his imprisonment, and said that his American captors tortured him, saying, "I've been beaten on every place of my body, and the signs are all over my body." But on the 5th of November 2006, Saddam Hussein was sentenced to death by hanging for the killing of 148 Shiites. When the verdict was announced, Saddam screamed, "Long live the people, long live the Arab nation, down with the spies, God is great." It was believed that the appeals would go on for years, but on the 26th of December 2006, Saddam's appeal was rejected and the death sentence was instated. No further appeals were allowed, and it was said that Saddam must be executed within 30 days of that date. The decision had to be signed off by the Iraqi president, but could not be commuted. Saddam requested to be executed by firing squad instead of hanging, and he claimed that it was lawful as a military execution, and he wanted to be shot as a soldier and as the commander-in-chief of the Iraqi military. This was denied, and 2 days before his execution a letter was published, in which he asked the Iraqi people to unite and to not hate the people of the countries that invaded Iraq, but instead hate those at the top of these nations who ordered the invasions and made the decisions. He claimed he was ready to die as a martyr. In the final hours before his execution, he had a final meal of chicken and rice, and also had a cup of hot water with honey. The execution was scheduled to take place at 6 a.m. local time, and it took place at the joint Iraqi-American military base of Camp Justice in Qazimain in Baghdad. Saddam was to be executed alone, away from the eyes of his co-defendants. It was said that the Americans wanted to delay the execution by 15 days, because they weren't keen on having him executed right away. The day before the execution, the Prime Minister's office provided all the documents they asked for, and the Americans changed their mind when they saw the Prime Minister being very insistent. It was a case of finalising details. It was said that the US had no direct involvement in Saddam's execution after he was handed over to the Iraqi government. There were reports that before his execution, Saddam was submissive and that he carried the Quran. A witness disagreed with this though, as it was said Saddam kept shouting, "Down with the invaders," as he entered the chamber, and when he was asked if he had any fear or remorse, it was said he replied with, "No, I'm a militant. I have no fear for myself. I've spent my life in jihad fighting aggression. Anyone who takes this route should be not afraid." He remained defiant, even as a noose and rope was placed around his neck. After the rope was secured, he shouted, "Do you consider this bravery?" As he was stood there, a version of an Islamic prayer was recited, and one witness said to Saddam, "Go to hell." He then replied with, "The hell that is Iraq." Another masked guard said, "You have destroyed us, you have killed us, you made us live in destitution." And Saddam replied with, "I have saved you from destitution and misery, and destroyed your enemies, the Persians and Americans." But then the deputy prosecutor tried to bring proceedings to a calm, saying, "Please stop, this man is facing an execution." He then began to recite the Shahada twice, and near to the end of the second time, the trapdoor sprang open, and instantly Saddam Hussein was left hanging, and he was killed. There was a loud crack as he plunged through the trapdoor, and with this his neck was broken. After he was left hanging for some minutes, the doctor then approached his body and listened to a heartbeat, and then declared that Saddam Hussein was dead, and was confirmed dead at 6:03 a.m. There were rumours after his death that Saddam's corpse was stabbed a number of times, but this was disputed, and other witnesses claimed this did not happen. His body was then buried in his birthplace near to his family members, and the bodies of his two sons, Uday and Kwase, at 4 a.m. on the 31st of December 2006. The tomb in which his body was buried was later destroyed, and it was said his body was removed by a Sunni tribal group before the tomb was destroyed. There was some criticism regarding Saddam Hussein's death sentence, as some believed it was unjust and others considered that he was a martyr. There was also criticism about the trial he had, and that this had been unfair. But ultimately Saddam Hussein was a man who led a repressive regime in Iraq, and was responsible for the slaughter of hundreds of thousands of people. The circumstances of the invasion of Iraq are still debated today, as it's considered that hundreds of innocent servicemen and women lost their lives in an invasion that had little justification. The issues with Iraq were not solved with Saddam's execution, and they continued for a number of years. Thanks for watching. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe, and once again, thank you so much for watching.